Good morning, Skyline. Good to see each of you. We got a good crowd this morning. Preacher count at least 100. I know. So I don't know. With Tommy gone, we might not have anybody assigned to get to count, but somebody get to count. And just remember to count everybody now. Good to see you. We've got our daughter and grandson and granddaughter with us from Seattle. It's good to have them. Then we got Walker and Cam also with us. Braden couldn't come. Braden's got an early afternoon soccer game, and he didn't think we'd make it back, so he's there. But it's good to have them with us for a week, spending Thanksgiving. We are entering my favorite time of the year. I'm just going to let you know that. Thanksgiving to Christmas, that's just a special time for me. Maybe it was because it was my mother's favorite time of the year as well, and July 4th came really close to that Independence Day, but she loved Thanksgiving through Christmas. The decorated stores, the lights, the yard ornaments out there, the excitement, the music, little drummer boy. Grandma got run over by a reindeer, like that one. And, the tables of food, friends, family, us visiting, other families visiting us. And I may be wishing, but I just think that the world thinks a little bit more about Jesus and God during this time of the year. But anyway, it is a festive atmosphere that I enjoy. And I hope you enjoy it as well. I'd like to bottle that aroma, that we have during this time of the year, and kind of sprinkle it throughout the year, because really at other times of the year, oh man, too many people get grouchy, I think. And so, if I could just do that, that would be great. But it's that time of the year that we should pause and give thanks. Pause and be grateful, despite what we might be going through. Or what hardships we might be enduring right now. Thanksgiving's a special time of the year for us to think about God, for us to think about Jesus, for us to think about friends, for us to think about family. And we do need to count our blessings, because we do have so many despite the hardships that we might be enduring. Our giving thanks to God should be one of the most important priorities in our life during all times of the year. Psalms 92:1 states, "It is good to give thanks to the Lord and to sing praises to thy name, O Most High, to declare thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness by night." And then flip back, Psalms 30, verse 12 states, "That my soul may sing praise to thee and not be silent, O my Lord. I will give thanks to thee forever." And then in the New Testament, we've got Hebrews 13:15. We usually think about this verse in terms of our singing, okay? Because it references the fruit of our lips, and we normally think about this in singing. But this is within life. This is not only singing, but it's us speaking, all right? Hebrews 13:15. "Through him then let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to God, that is the fruit of our lips that give thanks to his name." We can give praise to God by talking, by praying, and of course by singing. And that's what we should do. Now, having said all of that, I certainly understand that within the world there's a lot of conflict. Within our nation, there's a lot of conflict. I understand within our own midst, we have members battling serious illnesses. We have members who have had financial setbacks. We have had and we'll have members alone during the holidays. We've got some uncertain job situations. We've got some specific family problems that various families are having. Some you may not know about. We've had some family members struggling to keep their marriage together, their families together, and their marriages alive. And with all of these seemingly insurmountable problems, we may find it hard at this time to give praise or to give thanks. We may find it hard to keep that positive attitude that we should have. We're going through so many hard situations and difficult times, and these times cause a strain upon our lives and a strain upon our marriages and our relationships and our family. When we do, we get fretful, we get nervous, and at times we may become depressed. You may find it hard to even get out of bed. You may not want to face the day. I heard a funny the other day. I saw a funny regarding the mother going into the son's room and said, "It's time to get up. You got to go to school." And the son's saying, "No, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to." "Son, you've got to get up." "No, I can't. I can't." The mother said, "Son, you're the principal. You got to get up. You got to get up." Sometimes we just don't want to get out of bed. Sometimes we say, "Why, Lord? Why me? Why did this have to happen?" Let me say up front, I don't have all of the clear-cut, easy answers that I wish I could give you. There are no magic pills. There's no magic carpet that's going to swoop in and take us and whisk us away. Up front, I wish I could tell you that God will not give you more than you can handle. I can't say that because the Bible doesn't say that. God did say, and we get it kind of mixed up sometimes with 1 Corinthians 10:13, that he won't allow us to be tempted beyond what we can bear, and that he will provide a way out. That is said, but not the other, as God not giving us more than we can handle. There's a difference. It's not the same. Consider what Paul said. Let's go back to 2 Corinthians 1. 2 Corinthians 1, 8 and 9. "For we do not want you to be unaware, brethren, of our affliction," this is Paul talking, "which came to us in Asia, that we were burdened excessively, beyond our strength," meaning more than they can handle, "so that we despaired even of life. Indeed, we had the sentence of death within ourselves." Wow. Do you understand what Paul is saying here? Matter of fact, if you don't, he gets a little more into it if you flip over just a few more chapters to chapter 11. Chapter 11 there in 2 Corinthians. He talks about this starting there in verse 23. "Are they servants of Christ? I more so, in far more labors, in far more imprisonments, beaten times without number, often in danger of death. 5 times I've received lashes from the Jews. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. A night and a day I've spent in the deep. I've been on frequent journeys and dangers Dangers from rivers, dangers from robbers, dangers from countrymen, dangers from Gentiles, dangers in the city, dangers in the wilderness, dangers on the sea, dangers among false brethren. I've been in labor and hardship through many sleepless nights and hunger, thirst, often without food and cold, exposure, apart from external pressure. It's a daily pressures upon me of concern for all the churches. Look at what Paul went through. More than he can bear, he said it was. At the point of death, he said it was. We don't have to assume anything here at all. Paul faced these deep challenges. Yet what did he say about it? Let's jump back to 2 Corinthians 1:9. I did not read the last little part of verse 9 there. Why, Paul? Why? There in verse 9. Indeed, we had the sentence of death within ourselves. Why? In order that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God who raises the dead. Paul, why did you go through this? Paul, what are you going to do about it? Paul says, I'm going to trust in my God who can raise people from the dead. God doesn't expect us to handle all of the things that life throws at us. We can't. We can't. Paul couldn't. God really wants us to hand these things to him. Too often we burden ourselves down with a lot of things. And folks, I will say I am guilty. I am guilty. I've done this. And it just seems like I get better and then I revert back, you see. If we keep walking around, though, thinking that God won't give us more than we can handle, we set ourselves up for failure, really. We set ourselves up to be suspicious of God and wondering when he's going to do something, and then we get disappointed, we get frustrated, and it causes us to have this bad feeling about God. God, you said you're not going to give me more than I can handle, and I've got it. And why aren't you doing something? We know we're facing problems, situations more than we can handle, too much for us. Well, so did Paul. So did Moses. So did Elijah. So did the apostles. So what are we going to do? Well, for me, it's been to pray. And you say, oh, no, that's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. You know, everybody says pray. Heard in the news not long ago, one lady said, I don't want your prayers. Well, she was doomed already in my book when she said that. I don't want your prayers. Obviously, she didn't believe in prayer. She didn't believe in the power of prayer. And if you say that, then you're doubting yourself, the power of prayer. I believe I was brought back from the edge because of the power of prayer. I believe that God said, Norman, you know, I've got something that I want you to do a little bit later. A little bit later. I do believe that. And he spared my life. But if you find yourselves doubting, you're in good company. The apostles, the disciples did too. Look there in Luke 17:5, when they asked the Lord to increase our faith. That's the disciples following Jesus, seeing the miracles, seeing everything going on. They were still weak. They were still doubting. They didn't know what to believe, really. And they were struggling. And they said, Lord, increase our faith. Of course, we know there in James 5:16, tells us the effective prayer of a righteous man accomplishes much. That's the reason I think we need to pray more often. We need to drop down to our knees. We need to have that humble heart in approaching God and laying all of our troubles there with him. Look there in Mark 11, a very interesting verse, and one of these days maybe we'll study it a little bit more, but Mark 11, 22, 23, lots of folks have big problems here, but there in 11:22, Jesus answered, saying to them, have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says is going to happen, it shall be granted to him. Wow, look at what he's saying. Pick up that mountain, throw it in the sea. All right, what is Jesus saying here? Is Jesus saying, hey, I'm going to make you like God. You can do anything you want to do. I mean, you can create whatever. You can move whatever. You can do whatever. You know, just that, no. Understand what he's saying here. He didn't imply that the disciples could receive these powers like Jesus has or like God has himself. But we are to believe that God will impart power to us to give us sufficient faith and measure that will make it through our daily trials. We will receive from God the inner faith, the trust that will assist us through the trying times and the hard times. We pray without doubting. We pray with faith. We pray approaching our Father for the help we need, believing that he will give it to us. Now, it may come in ways other than you think you might receive it. But I do believe in prayer. And we should too. Jesus tells us to. The source of our faith, the source of our strength, the source of our hope is our God. Do you approach him? Do you have faith in him? Do you believe in him? Really, really believe in him? How often do you approach him? More often than not, we seem to be concentrating on our problems. We seem to be concentrating on things that we're having to deal with. Many times without even attempting to do anything about them to move forward. Well, you know, God, I'm sure, expects us to do what we can. To do what we can. We've got to have enough gumption about us to help ourselves out. Just laying around is not going to accomplish anything. Rather than thinking about things we don't know, I think we need to think about and start listing those things that we do know. Start by concentrating on those positive things in your life. And you may say, well, Norman, I don't really have any positive things. You know, everything just seems to be going wrong. Everything is bad. Well, despite what we might think, there are positives. There are positives. In the past, for instance, and I think about this too when I see things on TV and pictures and stuff on TV, and National Geographic is really good at bringing a lot of this stuff out. But, you know, I've thought about the possibility of my being born in another country. Maybe like a third world country. Bangladesh, Sudan, Liberia, Burundi, the Congo. That's a good one, the Congo. And I've wondered, about considering my family difficulty or any situation that I find myself in. I thought about having to contend with that over in one of those other countries. Because, you see, there's hardly any food, no water, unsanitary conditions, a lot of sickness, no hospitals, no doctors, no roads, no electricity, horrible living conditions. Now consider again the trials that you face living in Sudan. Yes, you could have been born in any third world country. Those individuals in those countries were given life by God, just like we were. However, we hit the jackpot. We hit the jackpot. We were born in the United States of America. And nobody can argue that there's not people clamoring to get in to this country. You don't see them clamoring to get in any other country or won't. They'd much rather come to the United States of America. Our birth certificate says made in America. So no matter what situation we're in, I believe we should say, yes, except by the grace of God that's allowed me to be here. Even in what we may call depressed economic conditions, having to face what we face today anywhere else would be a lot worse. So yes, I think a positive is that you can give thanks for our country. Surely all of us at least can start there, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, whether it's that problem, this problem, or whatever, wherever you are, you will have problems. You will have to try to work them out. You will have just as serious problems somewhere else. Anyway, life throws all of us curves and fastballs. And just think about what you'd have to go through. That's one of the first positives. What about the second positive here? How much more difficult would it be having to go through these problems without God? Without God. Without a Christian family who's there to help you, all right? I found out in my life that my Christian family helped me tremendously in all of my trials. I was able to better handle these trials because I was a Christian. And folks, there are many, many people, even within our community here, they have no one. They have no church family. They have no physical family, a lot of them, or many of them. They are out there alone. And I shudder to think about individuals who have no one to assist them through tough spots, or those who have chosen not to have anyone and chosen not to have a spiritual family. Think about it. We have, as a Christian member of the Lord's church, we have God. Putting him first, of course, should be the priority of our life. We have the truth, the knowledge of God, what he says, what he tells us. We have spiritual brothers and sisters. We have a spiritual family that can help us through these trials and tribulations. Surely we can bring ourselves to the point of thanking God that we are members of his family, his church. Yes, I've learned to be grateful for the fact that I was born in the United States. I've learned to be thankful for the fact that I am a child of God. I've learned to be thankful for being a part of God's family, where I have brothers and sisters to help me through these problems. You see, we have to be thankful. We have to find things to be thankful for in order to help us develop that contentment, that hope, and that peace that we should have as a Christian. Without having something to hold on to, we will not even attempt to feel the comfort that God wants for his children. And the longer we live, the more opportunity we will have to have these adverse situations. We've got to look beyond our feelings to God, to the one who's able to help us as he brings assurance to our lives, and finding out that there is a way out of darkness. 1 Peter 5:6-7 tells us that we've got to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. Some people have a hard time of being humble. But we've got to humble ourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt us at the proper time, in our time of need, in our time where we need help, in our time where we don't know which way to go. We've got to humble ourselves to approach God. Matthew 6:31 tells us not to be anxious. And the bottom line there is, he says, seek first his kingdom. Seek first his kingdom. Humble ourselves. Seek first his kingdom. And Philippians 4:6, be anxious for nothing. In everything, by prayer. By prayer. Having a spirit of thanksgiving, a spirit of being grateful, does not mean that we will never struggle, that we will never be disappointed, that we will never find discouragement, that we will never be sick. God doesn't promise us not to have to go through all of those things. What he tells us is that we should look to him for help, that we should cast our cares upon him, and then he and his family, the spiritual family, will respond, because that's up to each of us to help. And it would serve us well that in the process of living our lives, we've got to realize that we bring some of the problems we encounter on ourselves because of our lifestyles, because of our life's decisions. And yes, I guess we should make better decisions. We should choose more wisely. We should look before we leap. We should do a little better. Then there are those times when others impact our world. And there's not a whole lot we can do about that other than be careful. Then, as Joyce's brother told us many years ago, right before his death, he said, you have to play the cards that you are dealt in life. Now, I certainly have not been through some of the specific situations that some of you are going through. On the other hand, I have been through some life and death situations. I have been through some very tough situations that maybe some of you haven't. But our common denominator in here today is that we're all in this together. We are family. We are brothers and sisters shouldn't we help each other? Shouldn't we join hands and bring each other through these dark shadows that we're going through? No matter what situation we're struggling with now, no matter what situation we will struggle with in the future, ultimately, we will not get out of it alive. We're not going to make it. So what are we going to do about it? Ultimately. 2 Corinthians 6:2 ends there saying, now is the acceptable time. Today is the day of salvation. Worked with a guy in Jackson. He was an exercise buff. I mean, he'd get up in the morning and run 5 miles before work, 5 miles after work, and he'd run 27-mile marathon or something on the weekend, you know. He constantly talking about, oh boy, out there. Oh, that bird guy stepped off the sidewalk one day when he was running, got hit by a car. I told him, I said, see there, I told you, exercise is not good for you. Not good for you. You could get killed exercising. We never know. We never know. We are told by God that he is the God of comfort. And that's what he wants to give to us. The ultimate comfort is knowing that you are his child and that he will bring you to heaven. And then you work out your life under that umbrella. Do all you can do. Humble yourselves before the Lord. Lay your cares at his feet, and he will respond in many ways that you won't expect it. If for any reason this morning you need to become his child in baptism, not as just a washing of the water, but as an appeal to a conscience of yourself that says, yes, I love God enough that I'm going to obey him. I'm going to be immersed just like God asked me to be. We can assist with that situation this morning. We can assist you if you need to increase your faith. If you haven't been the child of God that you should be, we can get you back on that right path. Any reason we can help you, come forward now while we stand and sing.